Hi guys, welcome to chemistry, or welcome back. This year we're going to try something just a little bit different. We're going to call it the WRX system. The WRX is a hybrid system, which I hope will promise some class-leading performance. What is the WRX? Well, the WRX is a form of flipped classroom or blended learning in which the WRX symbols stand for watch, read, and explain. Now, this is a science course, not an English course, so let's not worry that explain doesn't start with an X, but it's close enough. So with this particular model, what you're going to be doing is watching a series of videos, some of which I will make for you and some of which I will select for you. I'm going to get you to read certain sections out of your textbook, and then when we get to class, mostly what we're going to be doing is to explain what it is that we've seen and what we've read. Mostly that's going to be in the form of practical work or working through exam style questions, particularly for the HSC guys, HSC style questions, just to help you improve your understanding of what's required and also to gain some practice. So how does this work? Well, the good news is you don't need to keep putting up with me talking at you for 50 minutes anymore. I'm going to try and stop talking, which is a completely difficult thing for me to do. But instead of me droning on, I'm going to give you some little snippets, some little snapshots. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the timer on my videos and try and keep them to within 10 minutes. And so what you're going to do is to watch a video, which is either going to be me. It may be an interactive, so something that's online on the internet. Sometimes there's some really good, you probably already know, some really good videos on chemistry on the internet. And there's also a lot of different Java applets and things like that that are good interactives. And I'll get you to do one or other of those in preparation for some concept that we're going to discuss in class. I've also read some of the feedback that I've had from you guys in the past, and that I know that I don't make as much use of the textbook as possible. So I want to make sure that I also direct you to some really important sections of your textbook that you can read beforehand. You can probably keep those textbooks at home. Anything that's really important that I want to go through, I'll highlight on my electronic version. And I really encourage you, if you've got a CD, to put the electronic version on your device so that you have that with you, but don't drag the book backwards and forwards from home all the time. That'll be a good reference for you. Lots of good questions in there, and I will just ask you to read little sections from time to time. And then the key point, what we're trying to do with this system is to spend more time in class actually doing some chemistry rather than listening to me talk about it. So hopefully you won't get quite as much sleep in science as you used to in the past, but you may actually be able to do a little bit more science, do a little bit more practical skills in chemistry, and also to discuss some questions that are important, relevant, and testing of your understanding of concepts. When do we drive it? Well, there's a couple of gears that are associated with the WRX. And the first two of those gears you will be doing at home. Now there will be occasions such as probably your first lesson where you will actually watch this in class. And occasionally I will review a video or put some sections up for you to have a look at in class, just so we can review it, just so we can double check it. And I'm not going to do that every lesson, so there will be an expectation that you will look at some of these at home yourself. So you're going to watch the video. And it might be me, it might be someone else explaining a particular concept that you hopefully will be able to pick up in the time that is there. The key is not to worry if you don't understand the concept the first time. You can rewatch the videos over and over again if you want, and that's part of why I'm doing this, so that you'll have a bank of resources which might be not so important in the first week, but maybe when you're leading into your half-yearly exams, your mid-course exams, they might become a little bit more relevant then. But something that will help you to explain a concept, or at least be exposed to that concept for the first time. And also the opportunity to look at what your textbook says about that. So some sections from the textbook that you're going to be able to look at that hopefully will link or match with the concepts that have been explained in the video. The final gears are done at school. So particularly the last one that we're going to look at is what will happen in the classroom. Now, what happens in the classroom is a couple of things. The first thing that's going to happen is a 3-question quiz. Now, the 3-question quiz is not a concept test per se. You'll get concept tests when you are actually starting to work through questions in class. 3-question quiz is just basically designed to see whether or not you've actually watched the video in the first place. So it might be a question like, what color is the car on the video that you watched on the WRX? So of course, if you watched it, you'll know it's this nice blue color over here. So you'll be able to say blue. And that would tell me that you have actually seen the video. Now, you won't know what the questions are until you get in the next day. So I'm going to be a little bit tricky to see who's watched it and who hasn't. But most of the time, the concepts are ones that we will talk about in class. So it's not important to understand them. It's just important to expose yourself to them. The key in class is that we're actually going to start to discuss these problems, sometimes as a whole group, sometimes in small groups. Sometimes I'll give you questions to just work through yourself just to see where you are. Now, I know that we've got people at different stages, and I really want to make sure that we find a method that's going to help support people who are struggling, but extend guys who are understanding things and can attack more complex problems. So hopefully this will give you some good background, enable you to move forward in your understanding of your chemistry. The key is we want to try and explain how what you've watched relates to the questions that you were given. Now, the questions may be an aim to investigate experimentally, or it may be a problem that I set you that we need to sort of talk through in class and use our understanding of chemical concepts to solve. Why are we using this system? Well, because it's part of the flipped classroom or the blended learning approach. There's a lot of information in the educational research that suggests that having this sort of a blended approach is a more interesting approach for students. It's also a good approach for teachers, and that's one of the reasons that I'm having a go at it. And I think it is a flipping good idea. It's also important because of its potential as a review tool. So once you have a series of these videos, which will link up to your new Canvas site, you'll be able to watch them over and over again, to review them, to look at which ones, if you go through questions in class and you find you're not understanding things, you can go back to the videos and have another look. There'll be plenty of material there for you to watch as many times as you need in order to get a concept settled in your own head. And of course, what it also means is that when you've watched something for the first time, if something is really complicated when you're looking at it, you maybe want to jot down a question to ask me when you come back to school the next day. And that way we can look at specifically the problems that you're having with some of the material, rather than waiting for me to just hit you with a wave of stuff and for you to try and work your way through what the most important things are. The other thing too, of course, is that instead of setting you questions for homework, we'll do questions in class. So you don't have to try and look at the back of the book and figure out whether it's right or wrong and why it's different to yours. You'll be able to talk to other people in the class. You'll be able to talk to me. We'll be able to solve some problems together. And more importantly, and hopefully, we'll be able to do more practical work to actually put our chemistry to work. I also think, from what I've seen, is that most of the learning institutions that use this approach, and that includes universities as well as schools, say that it improves student learning. And of course, the most important thing for me is to make sure that you learn your chemistry effectively and you do as well as you possibly can. So ask lots of questions, keep up to date with the work. I'll give you a schedule so you know exactly what you need to do, and let's have a good year in chemistry. Thanks for watching.